anything's working. I don't see anything working here. I'll have to reload it. Maybe it's just foggy today. There we go. Now it's at least streaming. Seems to be. Maybe it's just. There's the sound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA. We're going to be talking about printing, but also AI today. Trying to be interesting. But first, let's start with Andrew Ettinger, my friend and a supporter of the WDMA.
There's no, hey, you're going to get a 2% return. That's good for Burger King and McDonald's and all that shit like that. When you're in high-tech items, you don't need a lot of response to get the results that you need. And I say, how many responses am I going to get? How many sales do you need? Because if you get 6 jobs at 20,000, that's 120,000 on a $10,000 spend. Would you rather me tell you that you're going to get 50 calls, or would you rather me have you look at it like, what was my return on investment?
Okay, there you go. You know, people ask me, is there a return on investment on this crazy show every day? Well, I've got some members. Yesterday, I got a real good message from Mike Gunderson, and he asked me about break even and projection on a particular prospect that they're working on, and related to somebody wanting to try a catalog. And I didn't have a lot of detail, but I sent him a little spreadsheet, and happy to do it because he's a supporter of the WDMA. So if you have a question, you know, feel free. Send me a text or a John at WDMA will get to me, and you know, ask me a question. It helps if you're a WDMA member. Last week we had this. I reviewed this mailing piece that came to me. Really great, but missing a few pieces. And what do you know? They reached back to me and said, let's talk, and they joined the WDMA, so it's all fair. And speaking of WDMA, we had a great time in Minneapolis and Minnetonka last week. We had some big name people come, as I said we would, and I think it was one of the best meetups we ever had. It's, you know, getting a little crazy when we have to push tables together. You know, but we do our best. It's a little bit random who you sit next to, but it could be one of the top people in the print and direct mail industry, which we had at least 2 of really. My friend Mary England said, "Whoa," she said, "Do you realize who those people were?" Well, yeah, somewhat, and they're friends, good friends. So anyway, we're all friends and we have a good time. And if you get a chance, you know, I do them in Minneapolis. And if you'd like to have one in your city, you know, let me know, and maybe I'll make a trip to there. And we really do need to have more of them in Wisconsin, especially for our Wisconsin secret mailers roundtable, which we always enjoy. Same thing. But we'll get a streaming Zoom one going one of these days. Anyway, now over to the news. Let's see, how do I click on this thing? Where do I go? I haven't run this in about a week. It's like good to be back in the office. Okay, that didn't work, whatever I did. There we go. Okay, can ChatGPT get more sales meetings? Maybe. This is from Linda Bishop at PI World. Okay, she said computers, you know, rule-based modeling of human language, etc., are enabling computers to understand the full meaning of language. And I would contend that is completely false, but you might think so, you know. And in the next article, we'll talk about how they do university level essays. Well, part of the reason that they can do university level essays is my niece, who's a professor of logic at Gonzaga, I said, is the problem how good ChatGPT is or how bad incoming freshmen are? She said, well, yeah, it's mostly how bad the freshmen on their own are. So maybe it's elevated language quite a bit. She said, we may be going back to oral exams. I said, good. Sounds good to me. Blue books. That's the way we used to do it, right? You have to write there right on the spot. Okay, so Linda suggests that ChatGPT knows how to do it all. She suggests using it to write emails to get customer meetings. So she says you can bring it up and say, send a message in the box. And then you just have to tell it a few little guidelines. Here are the guidelines she suggests keeping in mind when you make the guidelines. And she actually gives you a prompt of what the guidelines might look like, which I suppose you could just pretty much cut and paste out of this article, which is available at wdma.org, marked up in just a few minutes after the show. So I wanted to point out that the length of this article, or of the prompts, is probably longer than any email I've sent in a long, long time. And then here is here's what comes back. Hello, marketing director's name. You really want to get rid of that. Printing company's name. You really want to get rid of that. I mean, you got to change it. Insurance company's name. So there's a bit of editing that would be needed. And, you know, I thought this was really funny right here. I hope this email finds you well. Have you ever written an email like that? If I got an email, well, I get a lot of this stuff. I get a lot of these kinds of things with invitations on LinkedIn, and I yesterday or last week, a few days ago anyway, somebody picked up on one of the points in my LinkedIn profile, and he said a bot couldn't do that, could they? Of course they could. I accuse people of being a bot and see what they say. And most of them probably are bots. And, you know, I think it's always funny if they think that their persuasive bot-generated message to me that's supposed to be a chat, and it comes out to be, you know, what would be several pages of text in the little chat box on LinkedIn. If you think that's going to get leads, well, God bless you. Be better off doing a mailing. Anyway, so your name, blah, 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 blah. It's very, very long. Best regards. I bet I've never signed a letter, best regards, ever, right? I mean, just listen to this. Could we schedule a meeting at your earliest convenience to discuss? That's not how you ask for a meeting. You say, I'm going to be in your neighborhood next Tuesday. Is morning or afternoon better? I can probably move my other meeting around if I have to. I believe it could be mutually beneficial to explore how our, you know, here, passive voice, right? Passive voice. I believe it could be passive voice, subjunctive phrase. It's terrible. It's horrible copy. Just horrible, horrible copy. So, you know, Mark Cuban says, if you don't understand it, you're going to be a dinosaur within 3 years. I contend that if everybody starts using it, just like digital advertising, some people will get wise to it and want help with their mail. But anyway, let's go over to Matthew Parker, my friend. Okay, artificial intelligence could soon be producing print files. This could be a problem. And he's got a couple of points here. Want to write a university-level essay, and that's what we were just touching on earlier. Create an image in the style of a well-known artist. Or create a piece of content. Artificial intelligence is already carrying out these tasks on a regular basis. Yeah, I would say it's carrying it out. I wouldn't say it understands them, obviously. Obviously, it writes pretty, you know, it writes like I did when I got out of graduate school. I had to rethink everything. Content writers, artists, designers will soon be at threat from this new software. But and content that you are printing already has probably been generated by AI, and it won't be long until AI is already creating print-ready files. And most people don't think the printing industry is even thinking about the effects of AI. Okay, so what kind of effects are there? Okay, first of all, it doesn't really create print-ready files. You still have to think about resolution, color separation, bleeds and trims, and that sort of thing. Now, it seems to me that would be a better application of AI than trying to have it write sales letters, because there are constraints that are pretty well known in terms of bleed and in terms of, you know, how big is the margin and, you know, cut marks, etc. Okay, current copyright laws don't really deal with AI generated content. So if you steal something from one author, it's plagiarism. But if you steal something from 100 authors, what is it? You know, I mean, it's hard to say. When I was in college, I would go to the library and bring home a dozen books on the topic and use those for footnotes because they would be good for footnotes, and you could use their outlines, etc. And then I would find one that was really the meat of the argument and use that one more heavily and probably not cite it. I know that sounds terrible, but it's a fast way to write. I had to write 60 pages a semester or something of essays and papers. There's no guarantee that AI generated copy is correct or legal. I saw an example where they asked AI about, I forget what they asked about, but it clearly lied about it. And they had articles that absolutely proved that it was lying, and then they told them about the articles, and it would say, "Oh yes, you're right," but there's a fact check on it, and then he would refute the fact check. "Oh yes, you're right." So if you quote a copyrighted piece of content, you probably have terms and conditions that put this responsibility back on the client. But that may not be tight enough. If you have a copyright or design service, will you be using AI in your workflow? Will this open you up to legal action? Great question. And where are you going to be at the top of the picks when customers start relying on AI to make sourcing choices? Heaven help them all. Because what will happen is the fraudulent in an industry will figure it out and get to the top of the search, like they did, like they ruined Dogpile and Lycos, by putting in their keywords 1,000 times in the beginning of the metadata. That ruined it for everybody, really. We could have had search engines that really literally were search engines, but people learn to game the system, and they will again. And so what you really want, I think, and I think Matthew would agree, is you want relationships with somebody. And if they're going to fire their outsourcing or their buyers, then you may want to have relationships with owners. That may be your only hope, because owners won't fire themselves. They may let AI do all the work. So what are you doing to keep up with how artificial intelligence might affect your business? And that's a great question. What are you doing? Oh, you're listening to the show right now. What could be better than that? Okay, so here's an excellent article by Summer Gould, Successful Direct Mail Booklet Design. She said, there are design elements that can cause a mailing to go at a higher rate of postage. And one that I just learned about in this article was, if you polybag it, that tends to jam up the machines. The Postal Service came out with booklet sizes, and they were trying to, I think they were trying to sort of regulate the Slim Jim catalog craze that happened when one round of postal increases. She mentions back in 2009, and that would probably be a reasonable date, because that was kind of when the wheels came off the economy. And in 2000, I think 2007 and 8 were the peak advertising mail years for the U.S. Postal Service. So they had to pass laws to stop people from creative ways to do ad mail. They had to rein that in. And so she gets into quite a bit of detail. The paper stock, this is an important one, because I have seen thinner stock on covers torn off. The idea of booklet mail is that you can send it through through the automated mail processing. And that's why the dimensions and the proportions of the dimensions make a difference, right? And how you bind it and how you sticker it, etc. You can't have perfed stickers. I always liked the perf stickers. I can't stand having to, use my teeth to get a booklet open. When pieces are too narrow, the machines cannot feed them, and it jams everybody up. No varnish or UV coating over the address block. That makes a lot of sense, right? There's a lot of little details here that you probably aren't aware of. Okay, and like, see, they may not be perforated, even though we like them perforated. It's not about the user experience here. It's about the USPS, and they don't care about individuals or recipients or mailers. One of my associates went to the Association of Catalog Mailer meeting in D.C. and said that the postmaster came and basically said, you know, you're not even a fly on the back of an elephant, so don't expect a lot of help from us. Seems that was their takeaway. I don't know what the postmaster said, but apparently it didn't sound very sympathetic. Anyway, poly bags, you cannot use them with your booklet-sized letter. USPS says they will not feed through machines, so we can only you'll be charged flat rate mail. Okay, and there's gluing things. Here's the bottom line. Here's the punchline. Your best bet is to design your booklet, then send a PDF to your direct mail provider to have them find any problems with the design. And you might ask them to make a mock-up. We used to always make a mock-up and weigh it and things to see whether it seems okay. And one time I didn't, and we got a higher postal rate because of it. And so that's enough for today. I hope you enjoy. Like, share, repost on LinkedIn. If you can hit the like button, right next to it is the repost button. And it'll make you look even smarter. And also it will bump the algorithm about 20 times more than your little like, which I enjoy anyway. I often thank people for their likes. But the repost is the kicker. Have a great day. Direct mail wins. Bye-bye.